Oh, Shane! You've been summoned! Now!
Crack whip.
I will go full
Who
hand.
doth disturb my slumber?
Me, asshole.
Make sure you put that in the beginning of everything. Me, asshole. Alright, so what's the actual name of the album?
My name is Shane Archer Reed. I'm a singer-songwriter, musician, actor from Central New York, and we are talking about my upcoming album, Mirror on the Wall.
My name is Dylan Staple. I am the manager and also the main listener of every song Shane releases.
My name's Ian Brown. I am Shane Reed's music producer. Recorded his last album, or his soon-to-be coming out album, full length. It's about 14 songs, I believe, and we spent quite a bit of time on it.
The first album I put out was in 2016. It's called I Defy You Stars. That was kind of a culmination of all of the songs I had written since I started writing, and I said, what are the 10 best songs out of all of this? And I took what I thought was the 10 best. I went to a buddy of mine's basement in Syracuse, New York, who had like a little to no budget studio. Brought my guitar, brought my piano, I brought my bass. He had an electric drum kit set up, and we cranked out an album.
It's thought that, this album can be more than a really well thought out guitar section and some mean drums or whatever. I think it became more, the first record was a lot of that, just like, this guitar is going to sound good, this drum's going to sound good, Will Pegg's going to kill it on guitar, the obvious statements when making a record.
And for both of us, it was our first time doing something like that. So we were still in the learning stages of what it takes to make an album sound good. And that got better and I think that got better over time. In 2018, I started accumulating some studio equipment of my own, and I made the Precursor EP, which was the first time I ever dabbled in recording and performing and mixing and mastering everything almost completely on my own.
And it says, okay, let's take it a step further. Let's add this in. Let's do this. Let's make this more aggressive. Let's put this in. This sound that could be more of like a metal record. He toured with that for a fat minute, and then I don't know where that went. I'm still wondering where that went.
And around that time, I was writing for the next album. That one I recorded on my own and sent the recordings. I sent to a professional studio in Syracuse to mix and master it, and that ended up being what would become the Something to Say album that I put out in 2019. That album got a lot more notice than anything else I put out. There were a couple songs off I Defy You Stars, like Catch My Breath and Runaway, that people tend to gravitate toward. They liked Mona Lisa Smile off the Precursor EP. But this one, the Something to Say album, there were songs that really hit home for them. Songs like Lightspeed and Poison and Bleed Me Dry and the title track, Something to Say. It was the first time I put out a record and was really, really happy about the product I put out, and not just for the sake of putting something out there. And this album that I'm about to put out, Mirror on the Wall, is even more so because it's the first time everything is done professionally. I worked with my friend Ian Brown, who is an amazing producer, and an amazing musician and songwriter himself. And when he said he was opening his studio back up, I jumped at the chance to work with him. And I actually got to be there this time and watch things happen, watch the little nuances of these songs come to life, and hear what a really good quality production of an album sounds like and looks like. And so for this upcoming record, it's definitely my favorite project that I've done to date.
With this album, everything hits. Everything takes your attention and, puts it front and center and says, listen to this and listen to all the underlying things in the track. Listen to the singing and how his voice moves, and listen to all the new things that we put into these tracks.
Yeah, it's an album I'm going to be proud of for the rest of my life, just because of how much work we put into it and how personal I got when it came to making this music. This is the shortest amount of time it took me to write an entire album. It took me only about a year and a half. I started the writing process after I released Something to Say in the summer of 2019.
If you've got something to say, then say it. That's what.
And I think for the first time in the writing process, I allowed myself to be more vulnerable and more personal with these lyrics. A lot of these songs ended up just kind of writing themselves. Like, I knew what I wanted to write about and was able to put music to it fairly quickly, or I had a musical idea and the words just kind of kept coming out. There were only maybe one or two songs that took a lengthy amount of time for me to say, okay, this is done, I feel good about it. Everything else came fairly quickly.
Well, Shane's always writing easily. Just that's what he does. That's what I know him as. It's just he writes. I didn't even know this record was coming at first, and he said, "Oh yeah, I got like 7 songs done. It's track demoed and looking good, sounding good." I think he just said, "Oh, I got this guy Ian Brown. Like, he's really good," and then he shows me Moving Mountains. And it's like, oh yeah, he's real good. He's real good.
We did have some long days. I remember 2 days specifically where we recorded for 14 hours, and God bless that man, because there were vocal days, so that's crazy. Just the amount of time and effort to be put in to singing. Like, for instance, doing a live show can be like an hour, like an hour show. That just puts a strain on your voice. But he did 14 hours of recording consistently throughout 2 different days, which is nuts. And but a typical day would be like 8 to 10 hour day. We'd come in, record, and we would get a lot done because Shane knows his stuff. He knew exactly, we didn't have to come in and mess around with oh, I forgot that guitar part or something, and we'd have to take 20 minutes to relearn it or something. But he knew all of his parts of each instrument, the bass guitar, even the drums. He would have a basic layout or whatever, and then I would go off on them and just kind of rewrite the drums. But just it made things way easier, and we would come in and we'd be and usually we would talk about what we would do before he would come in that day. So we'd be yeah, next time you come in, we'll work on this song, that song, and we'll just bang out the guitar for all of the songs. Or we were because it was such a long process with just recording the album, because there are so many songs. I think total we recorded 16 songs, and I think there's 14 on the actual album. So that's a lot to undertake.
Around this time, he's taking a look at the demos he's written, anything he's written. He's talking to me about it, saying, this is what I'm gonna send to Ian. And Ian, during the process of recording, talks to me. He sends me what him and Ian have been working on, and depending on certain things like, this is the single. He gives me the single. Well, I'll take the single and I'll send it out. And sometimes I've sent it out. Sometimes I have shown it to close people. Sometimes I've shown it to a few people who were promoting and booking shows up at my college, SUNY Potsdam. I've tried to do that a few times, and just all different things like that. And then once the record's been recorded and we release it, I've been there for something to say, the record beforehand. We take the record and we just show as many people as possible, and we let everyone know about it. We find new ways to release it, new ways to get it out there, and him and I both just figure that out ourselves at the same time.
We would do it in sections, so we would do like a whole day of just instruments, like guitar for, like all the songs, and then we'd go through and do bass for all the songs, or something like that, and then I would do drums, and so we just had it very, we had it pretty much strategically planned out. Or if, like Moving Mountains, for example, his first single that he dropped from the album.
'Cause God damn it, I'm trying to be everything you want. God damn it, I'm trying.
We did that first, so we would just go through and pick like, what we would do for that song just to finish it up while we were working on the other songs. But in order to get that done first, we'd have to go back to that song and then record vocals or add effects and special effects and all that stuff just to get it done.
When I got in touch with Steve Long and he said he wanted to do a music video for a song off the new record, I immediately knew that was going to be the first single, and we spared no expense this time. We went balls to the wall. We wanted to make sure the theatricality was there, the storytelling was there, the performance was there, the message of the song was there, and I think Steve really captured that when we did Moving Mountains. That video is still something. It's something I'm really proud of, because it was the first time all of those things that I wanted to be brought out in a music video actually happened, and actually came out as professional and as quality of a product as the album itself is.
Once Moving Mountains reared its beautiful, beautiful head out into the open world, it was time to let any company, any record company, any management firm, you name it, they had to hear it. So we took it to Submit Hub, I believe the name of it is, and mostly I actually had no idea about this. He says, yeah, I've been on this thing called Submit Hub. I said, oh, never heard of that. Once again, him and I both teach each other, and which is fantastic. And so he found him that way, and the signing, it came from a bunch of emails, some people just looking for money, being like, oh, your production's bad, but if you take it to my place for $200 more, no. So, but finally we had a contact in Curtain Call Records. They said, we'd love to have a phone call with you, and we had that phone call with them, and it was a very nice phone call, very genuine phone call. We knew what they wanted. We knew what they have, what they offer people, and it was a perfect way of getting Shane out there, for sure, is making this deal.
This is also a record where I put a little bit more of my theatrical background into it. I wanted to tell a much more in-depth story. I wanted to have each song be a story in and of itself. The concept for this record is about looking inward to yourself and kind of fighting all those insecurities and inner demons that you're grappling with on a daily basis. Things that tell you you're not going to make it, you're not good enough, you need to be better at this, that, and the other thing. The record talks about how we deal with those inner demons, how sometimes it can get the better of us, and sometimes it can inspire us to do better, and sometimes inspire us to fight off those demons. And continue to fight them whether we initially win that battle or not. That's something I've been, especially in the past couple of years, something I've been dealing with and struggling with quite a bit. And being able to put that into my music was very therapeutic, very cathartic, and it helped me get the edge in that fight that I have with my inner demons as well. Production-wise, this album was the first time everything was done professionally, but I still tracked everything myself. I would go into Ian's studio, lay down all the guitars, bass, and piano and the vocals. I'd record the drums at home, and then he would transfer them over. We'd edit things here and there. But again, this is the first time that everything from the recording aspect was done at the highest quality we could. And working with Ian as a producer made the studio experience not only more memorable but more enjoyable too. He was someone who understood what I wanted to do musically. He was someone who was encouraging to try different things, to not hold back vocally or instrumentally or anything of the sort.
I'm very, very open with Shane, and luckily he's very open with me, and he's like, he's very okay with making changes or adjusting things, or like just being on the same page with each other.
Sometimes people will just record and give you a little bit here. Oh, hey, I can't work with this, it's too flat. I can't work with this, it's too sharp. Working with Ian, and Shane working with Ian, and both of us working with Ian at the same time, I've come to learn that Ian is very much, he's no nonsense. He gives it to you. He's willing to work with you, talk with you about stuff. He's not selfish about his ideas, but he's not gonna sugarcoat it when it's your ideas.
Being open, like, yeah, that's a bad line, or like, yeah, let's redo that take, or let's completely scrap this part, or like, let's write something new for the bridge. Like, there's just so many different outcomes that are possible. If there's a melody that he might be hearing, but I might be hearing something entirely different, we'll take that chance just to see if it works, and if not, we don't use it. But if it does, then great. And like, that just became the song, and that upped the ante even more for that song.
There were moments even where he says, I think we can do something better. And we try it, and 90% of the time he was right.
I think what really helped with it was when we made the album, when it was all done, something else kind of came up, and Shane got it back to Ian, and Ian said, okay, I'm gonna really take this to the next level then. We're really gonna put it there. I thought the record was good at that point, and then Ian got tested, and Ian said, okay, let's do it.
So it was nice to have a producer who wanted to bring the best out of the artist working with him. And as far as producers in the central New York area go, I don't think you're going to find anyone better than Ian Brown.
There's this huge change in just the clarity, and also in just Shane's singing. Like, Shane, in your face, is a phenomenal singer, but everyone knows, like, the wrong audio equipment can really do you dirty, for sure. So hearing Shane on audio equipment that's not gonna let him down, that does his vocals dirty, is just so perfect for what we've been looking for to help him out and bring him up to the next level.
He knows his stuff, he knows what to do, when to do it, when not to do things, that kind of thing. And of course, just like any other musician or human being, we'll have that time of just messing around and like joking and laughing, or just taking a break and just jamming on whatever song, or writing some random thing just to be goofballs. But when it's time to, you know, record and be serious, he's very, you know, all right, let's do this, let's get it done, you know, kind of thing. So that's I think that's what sets Shane apart from other musicians.
His work is his work, and it's great. It's always good. But, you know, now we have better recording technology. We have better ideas on where we can send stuff. We have a team in Curtain Call Records giving us a hand that we talk to frequently because we really want to make sure we figure out every possible way. When we go on tour or when we go down to West Virginia for a music festival, it's going to be walking around, hey, check out this record, pretty fancy, right? And that's what I can always hope for when it comes to going out. But I think I see it going as far as we had imagined it would be.
When I first met Shane, like, as a musician, my first thought, and I think I even told him this, was like, I thought he was like the modern day Billy Joel. Just because, like, the whole piano and, like, theatrical type thing that he brings to his music.
When he goes about it, I think a lot of people tend to play an instrument one way, two ways, you know, tops, three ways maybe. But it seems like Shane knows how to play any instrument more than many ways, for sure. I think another thing I would say is his drive, for sure. I know that's as generic as it comes. However, I've hit the rope with him. I have seen him at one place and another, and what his mind goes through at that time. And I've never really seen a drive like that, and I really think that's something to be proud of, and also for others to appreciate.
Even this cover, where I was like, we wanted to do something that was, you know, that was Shane Reed, just to, like, make it his own. But and I think that's kind of like what sets him apart from, like, a modern day, like, rock band kind of thing, is that he's not, like, specifically in one genre. And that's what I like about him a lot too, is because I'm like that too as a musician. So I don't like to stick within, you know, these genres, or like, oh, I'm gonna do rock and I have to stay in rock, or like, you know, if you want to write a song, then you write the song, and if it's good, it's good. Like, that's all there is to it. If you want to have it on the same album, then you put it on the same album. It's whatever you want to do because it's yours, you know. So I think that's the cool thing about Shane, and that, you know, this album will take you on a kind of a roller coaster ride, just from, like, the dynamics of it all too. Just like, you know, a slow ballad song with just piano and his voice, and then, you know, go to track 3 or something, and then there's just like this huge kind of like rock song, and yeah, that's what I enjoy about it. So
I see him going and touring like he's been doing. I see him meeting a lot more new people. That's kind of how the years have been. It's like, we meet this person, then a +1 or +2 or +3 new people show up and meet Shane and like Shane's work, and it just keeps happening. Had 2020 not happened, we would have met even more people, and, you know, and I think that's what's just going to keep happening. It's just meeting people until there's no more people left to meet. So it's very simple that music could never go away. Music can't die. And so when 2020 hit, it's one of those things where music needed to stay active. It had no choice. And despite not being able to go on tour, which was devastating, which absolutely sucked, and the fact that any plans we had just didn't quite feel right anymore because of a lingering and ongoing pandemic. So we had to take that and say, you know, let's get the music out there other ways. Because meeting people, and like we've been doing, that ain't gonna happen this year. And so it was a lot more work on the online. I had been doing emails by that point, but now it was more emails, and now it was more submissions, and also a lot of it moved online. A lot of things we tend on doing, and suggestions that I had with him was, let's get this online.
So yeah, those first few months of 2020, I was not in a good place. So I did what I usually do when I'm not in a good headspace, and that's put myself in a place where I can get to a better one. I pick up my guitar, I go to my piano, and I just play, and I sing. And usually when I do that, I end up writing something, or start writing something. And for most of 2020, I found myself writing a lot of new music, including 1 or 2 songs that ended up being on this new album, and then a lot which will basically become the rest of my discography going forward, or at least up until those songs are finished, you know. As 2020 went on, studios started opening up, and I was able to go in and finish the process for Mirror on the Wall and finish recording that, shoot the Moving Mountains music video. I was able to live stream a few acoustic performances from my home. So, thankfully, I never felt like I completely lost touch with music, and never really completely lost touch with theater or anything that gave me any sort of artistic influence. It always found a way there. And thankfully from doing so, I've also gotten to connect with a lot more people who are trying to do the same. You know, I ended up joining TikTok and meeting a bunch of like-minded musicians and actors and performers and just good people in general that I was then able to pull even more inspiration from and write about those experiences. So, thankfully, my favorite thing, my good thing about 2020 is that I never stopped writing and I never stopped creating. And it just goes to tell me that I'm never going to stop.
Shane and his music can be found anywhere that you can find an artist's work of any time. He's on TikTok. I see him posting on there all the time. Him and I do a lot of goofy stuff together, and it either ends up on his page or my band's page, Birds in the Car, that he's also a part of. So give that a listen if you like Shane and you like his, or if you more or less like his guitar work, you try this stuff out and it'll be real good. But we always do a lot of goofy stuff on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, all around Shane Archer Reed or Shane Archer Reed Official. I think Shane Archer Reed Music, any music platform, you'll find them there.
So the name of the full-length album is Mirror on the Wall, and you can get it everywhere on July 9th.
So you better listen to it, and you better listen to it again, and then 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, and more than that, for sure.
Once again, my name is Shane Archer Reed. You can check out my official website, shanearcherreed.com, as well as on all forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also follow me on Spotify and Apple Music and stream my songs wherever music is sold and streamed or whatever.